个有木大去，我感到古木我是，马里叫个木达拉，马里叫个木诺phải na 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 na. Đuôi mê lần thái, ôi cha con yêu hai hai, e bồ cả yêu cú tu khai, mua cú nia tu mê nhá, na na na. Oh, mê lớn thái, tu neng gì lu. Shoua Thao na na na.วันจะก็ช่องเขาว่าลัวกูยินเชียร้อยยินเชียจีทัวเชียตาเลยยินสานเชียตัวสาเต้าก็ล้อเจ้ากูปัวนะนะนะ 是，哎，马里海路乱子，哎，这古多个啥米的，马里木头一座给，那那那。Ta làยินสานเชียตัวสาเต้าก็ล้อเจ้ากูปัวนะนะนะ我感到古木我是哎马里海路乱子哎这古多个啥米的马里木头一座给那
Oh, I killed it too fast. Oh man. So I love that song. Don't you guys love that song? I think two is like no pho, I only want pizza. So hey guys, that's hilarious. Yeah, I'll give him a shout out here too. So you guys those you guys here we got Oklahoma in the house. So if you guys in Oklahoma, give us a few thumbs up. If you guys aren't from Oklahoma, let us know where you guys are at. We'd love to hear or let's love to see where you guys are at. Got an awesome show today. A couple things. I will actually be in Minnesota this weekend, so to teach, partnering up with Hmong Chambers up there to teach a real estate class for 4 hours. So if you guys want to learn about real estate investing, you know what? I'll put the link in the comments later after the show. But if you guys are interested, come learn about real estate, how to make money in real estate. Come join us this weekend, on the 19th. So around 10 to 2, 10 to 2 or 10 to 1, something like that. So I'll put all the information on the comments if you guys want to learn. And we just secured our dates for the Hmong Millionaire Conference. So if you guys are interested, I'll put the link in it down there as well. August 25th 26th. So in Florida. So if you guys are interested, this is going to be lit, guys. We're going to have some like millionaires in the conference, so you guys can ask them how they make their money and get some tips out of it. And we're actually going to teach real estate and how to invest in stocks. So could be a lot of stuff. Man, I'm finishing the details on this, so but this is going to be lit, guys. So I say book early because I do have early pricing right now for it. So if you guys want that early pricing, the cheaper tickets, go ahead and book now. So and I think we're raising the tickets in the next month, I think. So get them in. There's only limited seating, so that's it. So that concludes. We got California in the house. We got Jamon in the house. We got Wisconsin in the house. And we got Milwaukee in the house. So those you guys, let us know where you're at. Give us a few thumbs up. We got Shoua coming on. So I'm going to bring it on here. And we can start the show. 3,
Hello.
2, 1. Hey, Shoua, what's up?
Hi.
Thanks for coming on. Yeah. So, guys, welcome to show 63. We got Shoua from Oklahoma. We're going to talk about Oklahoma, right? And where people are buying and I guess buying the homes and their land and stuff like that. I want to know because, I got family going there and she's an agent out there as well. So, appreciate you coming on and we can talk about this. So, welcome to the show, Shoua.
Thank you for having me. Honored to be on the show. So
Yeah. So let's start out by like I asked everybody, like how did you get started? Because you're a realtor there. How did you get started? Like in this kind of stuff, this line of work.
yeah. So to start, I've lived in Oklahoma for over a decade. Was born and raised in Washington State, and I'm the oldest of 5, married, and have 3 kids. And how I got started in this business. So me and my husband, we like to invest in real estate. It's always been a passion of ours. And kind of an end goal in our careers is to do real estate. So when I met my husband, they owned a 3-unit apartment in Massachusetts, and he did a ton of work on those units, from remodeling to repairing. And he also does heating and air for a living. So with his knowledge in homes, remodeling really sparked my interest in real estate. Prior to real estate, I would say I worked for a large dental corporation as their clinical operations manager. And so we worked about 50 offices in the Quad States, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas. So I worked there for about 10 years. And I always told myself if I was going to quit my 9 to 5, it was something for myself, be my own boss. Or else quit, that's just job security, right? And so back in 2019, I started real estate school online. I just had my youngest at that time. He was just a few months old. So, and the pandemic started. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do the real estate online just to see how you have 6 months to do it. And I was like, now or never. So I hopped online, started my real estate, online courses, and eventually gained my license. And, the biggest thing in getting my license was to gain easier or quicker access to listings that hit the market. Because things go so quickly. And as an investor, you're not really investing high value, into a house. You want to get into cheap homes with repair required. So many agents it was just hard for me to work with them, or for them to work with an investor. And so that's why I got my license, for that reason. And then friends and family found out that I was an agent, started marketing myself. I'm like, let me just try it. And then it just kind of went from there. So
that's awesome. That's pretty smart. Yeah. I mean, I don't do it that way, but yeah, I mean, to get the upper hand, that's awesome. You guys are already thinking that way. Wow. Okay, cool. So, I mean, I guess that's Massachusetts. Did you sell it? I mean, you guys are in Oklahoma now, right?
We're in Oklahoma. We ended up selling it. It was just too far, and it was hard for us to manage. And now I'm like, dang, I wish we would have never sold it. But it is what it is. And, you always have to start somewhere. So it's okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, so real estate business. So how's it going? Like, how? I mean, is it? I mean, it's got to be competitive over there as well, right? Because I think Oklahoma is like I think I was reading the other day, like it's one of the states that people are moving to. Like from California to Oklahoma.
Yeah, yeah. So, the Oklahoma market, I would say, like you said, like people are moving here from California. I see people from North Carolina that I work with, Wisconsin, um, Minnesota. It varies. So,
Oh,
but
okay. It
clients,
sounds like that's like majority of the Hmong people. Like, are you tailing just for the Hmong people, or are you? I mean, are you like open to like other
I'm
like
definitely, I work with many. So just, I work with, May, Hispanics. I work with Hmong, Mika, it just really, it varies. But if you're talking from out of state, mainly the people that I've worked with are Hmong people from out of state. So, and a
Oh,
lot of them
okay,
are
cool.
elders too, elders who don't really speak a ton of English, who, don't really understand the market here or where to live or where to buy. So I work with a lot of those too.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Cool. Oh, that's funny. Like Kia goes, Shore's a badass. She carries a side partner with her. I think I know what she's talking about.
You have to when you're a woman in real estate. I mean, real estate really, but
I think I was it you that posted a picture of you holding something or
yes.
holy cow. Wait, was it a bad neighborhood or anything like that? Or was you just carrying?
Wasn't. It was one of those situations where I walked into a house. It was a virtual showing for a client from out of state. I work with many out of state buyers, and it was an investor. And we walked in. I walked into this house, and it was an open house, and the agent wasn't there. And so I'm like, okay, this is odd. So then I walked into this old man sitting on his couch, and mind you, he's a hoarder. So I
Yeah.
walked in and he sat there and was just smoking a cigarette. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm here. I'm doing a video tour. Like, this is very awkward. It's an open house. What do I do? So I was like, exit point, exit point. I was already in the house at this point. So I looked for the back door. I'm like, I got to make sure this back door is open. Came back around, got to my car, got my little side partner, and then went back into the house and just really, made sure my back wasn't turned. It was just mainly safety. Should I just have left? Yes,
Yeah.
but I don't know why I didn't leave either. I think it was just because I felt like my competence. Like I just felt like I got this. Like that
Because you have a side partner with you. That's what it is.
too, but it's just my personality. I'm like, I'll be okay. Like
Yeah,
nothing
yeah.
will happen.
That's
And if
awesome.
it does,
Yeah, be safe out there. I know we hear these stories about agents, getting kidnapped or getting killed. So yeah, just be safe out there. So yeah, I totally understand what you're, that type of stuff. Yeah. So, um, cool. Like, okay, so like Oklahoma market, like, tell us about it. Like, and what kind of jobs out there? I mean, when I think of Oklahoma, I think of just land. What kind of jobs do they have there? Since you're like an
boring.
agent, what is it?
I said, we're not that boring. So in Oklahoma, yeah, there is a lot of land. There's a lot of opportunity to own land. I would say if we're, dialing it down to job opportunities, the medical field is really big here. Dental and healthcare is huge. Aviation jobs are huge too. And I'm not talking about going to build like an airplane or working at the airport, but,
Yeah.
corporate jobs that build airplane parts. That's huge here as well. Amazon just opened their huge warehouse in, I think, Owasso, which is north of Tulsa here. That's a lot of opportunity there for people as well. And lots of heating and air companies here in Oklahoma. The heat here is crazy. I'm sure
Oh,
in Florida.
really? Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I thought that it would just be nice, cool breeze over there. Okay, cool.
No, I wish, right? And like I said, at the end of the day, there's always a job, like everywhere else and for everyone. The biggest difference here, with jobs is the pay. The cost of living here in Oklahoma is lower, so the pay is lower, and that's something to expect.
Oh, okay. Like,
Mm.
do you know like what's like the minimum wage there, or do you
I don't even know the minimum wage at
like
all.
is it like oh man, is it like still like $9? Is it like Walmart or like what is it like McDonald's like charging like not charging but they're was it $9 or $12 now over here in Florida? Is it
Wow.
like that or is it like still $8 or something like
I have not kept up with minimum wage since,
that?
so I will
Yeah, yeah.
not answer that. They'll have to Google that.
Yeah, I'm just curious, like, because when I think of Oklahoma, like it's really like remote, So like there's not a lot of research, but like what you're saying that it looks like it's developing a lot,
Yeah, it definitely.
So cool, cool. Like what's the biggest city? Is it? Do you know what the biggest cities are?
Yeah, so Oklahoma City is the capital of Oklahoma. And I would have to say Oklahoma City and Tulsa are probably two
Okay,
of the biggest cities. Oklahoma being number one, and then Tulsa.
okay. And then where does guys? You guys have any questions? Ask away. It's like we have a Oklahoma expert on the show. So like, give us a few thumbs up too for her coming on the show and talking about this. So yeah, you guys have any questions? Comment below. We'll get those answered for you. Yeah, like okay, so like, we hear more people like moving down and stuff like that. Like, where do you see them moving to?
So I would say, obviously Tulsa. Broken Arrow is just east of Tulsa, and that's also a growing city of where Hmong people are living. Owasso is huge. Everyone wants to live in Owasso. That's north of Tulsa, and Collinsville is north of Tulsa, just right north of Owasso. That's a growing city as well. And then, south of Tulsa, there's Bixby and Jinx. Those are also growing cities, and where Hmong people like to live. It's more, I would say, the school districts are a lot better in Bixby and Jinx. And so, but I usually see people tend to live more or ask, hey, I want to look for a house in Broken Arrow, Owasso, Collinsville. Those are the biggest cities. And then other than that, northern and eastern Oklahoma. So if you're expanding out land and home or land, it's usually, I would say eastern Oklahoma is number one choice. And then northern Oklahoma towards like Joplin, I-40 north towards Joplin, that would be secondary. For people who want to buy land and home. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I'm a family man, what's the best location to go to, like as far as schools and stuff?
Sorry, you cut out a little bit. What was that?
Oh, like if I was a family man, I got kids, like what's a good school area?
So number one school here is going to be Jinx and Bixby. But in Tulsa, there's two separate parts of Tulsa. There's Tulsa Public Schools, and then there's Union School District. And I would say Broken Arrow, Union School District of Tulsa, and Owasso are very comparable as far as school. They're all really good schools. I would say number one schools would be Jinx and Bixby is majority of what I hear from people. But Broken Arrow, Owasso, and like I said, Union School District are really good school districts.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. It's Broken Arrow. Okay, I guess we did mention Broken Arrow. He goes, what? He did say, what are the property taxes we should expect to pay for a single family investment property in Tulsa and surrounding areas? Huh. Yeah. Just curious, like, because Florida has high property taxes. Do you have, is it high? I mean, I guess it would be kind of. It can be kind of hard. I guess we can just search for it, right?
Yeah.
What's high, right? So for me, it's like, like ours is like 7,000 for this property that I have, but I don't know. Like, what do you see? Like
taxes in Oklahoma, so for investment property, it's quite low actually, and what I see is anywhere from like 1,000 to 2,000 or 2,500 around there for property
so
tax.
let's say for like a 3-bedroom, is that about right?
Yeah.
For 3, wow, that's crazy cheap.
I
Holy
would
cow!
say $1,500 to $2,500 is what I see for property taxes here per year.
Wow. Okay. Cool. Yeah. There you go, Kia. That's oh wow, man. It'd be nice being a landlord. Do you see a lot of people renting, or do you see a lot of people buying?
A little bit of both, but there are a lot of investors right now. I just don't think it's a great market for investors because it's a bidding war and people are paying over asking price. So you're not really getting like a great value. You're kind of paying more now and then gaining later. But yeah, so it's a little bit of both. I mean, there are definitely tons of buyers and investors, but it's hard to get into a house as an investor because you're competing with a ton of buyers. So
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Just curious. Like, okay, where? I guess let me go back to like the Hmong people. Like, where is the majority? I think you said Oklahoma, Tulsa, right?
yeah, Tulsa, Broken Arrow,
And
Owasso,
Broken
Collinsville.
Arrow. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Like, are we talking like a lot? A lot? I mean, I don't know what the population is. I mean, what is the population there? Do you
I don't
know?
even know the population of Hmong people here anymore. It's a lot, and I know that because I you look at the Hmong New Year every year, right? We've never
Yeah,
used the parking lot across the highway, and this year was the first year ever, or last year, that we've ever had to use that parking lot across the highway. So, in that's a lot of Hmong people that have moved here. It's just people have moved here to live. I always say they are either buying land or living rurally, and so you don't really see them until there's a big event, and then everybody comes out. So I don't
yeah,
know what the population among people here in Oklahoma is anymore, but I know that there's a
yeah.
lot of people, and it's
How
great.
big? How
Love
big
it.
did you say it was a turnout? Because I saw the videos and stuff like that of the New Year. How big did you say? Like, how many people came out?
Oh
Would
my
you
god,
say?
I would not even know. A lot. I wasn't there for very long, but I did recall them saying that there were like 30 or so volleyball teams or something like that.
Holy cow, that is a lot.
And I
Yes.
could be an over exaggeration, but I feel like that was the right number around there.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy.
That tells
That's a
you
lot.
anything.
If that was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Holy cow. So we got a few guys. Come say hi. We got California saying hi. Uh, how are you finding two goes? How are you finding your sellers in this market? I guess. I mean, they're coming to you pretty much. I'm thinking, right?
How am I finding my sellers? That's a great question. I don't pay for marketing. That's number one. I since I started real estate, I don't pay for marketing. I don't feel like I should or need to pay for marketing, if you will. Not yet, at least. But how am I finding my sellers? So I think a lot of it's just Facebook, word of mouth, referrals. I I used to, now we live on 20 acres, but I used to live in a subdivision. And so having that relationship with the people in that neighborhood as well really, helped bring me sellers and listings in that subdivision. And then, they refer me to their friends and their neighbors. And so it's really all word of mouth. But the biggest thing is, again, building a relationship with people and everyone you
Yeah.
meet. When they think of real estate, they think of you. So.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. That's how it should be. Um, so let's go back to okay, so I was talking about I guess when you say the rural, I can't say rural, but like where are they located? Like where are they staying at? Like
Those cities. Yeah, so
yeah.
a lot of people who move here, the first thing that I usually hear from them, when I'm like, "Where do you want to buy land with a house?" And it's usually, "I
Well, let's
want
start with that, right? They
to
come down and they want what? Land, right?
with the house." Land
And we'll
first.
keep that to like a different show, but let's start with the land first. Like so, like majority of Mobile come is because of the land, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
majority of people come because of the land, or they're ready, they're getting older, they want to retire. A lot of them are like, the cost of living in California is too expensive. They want to buy land because that's what everybody is doing, right? So I would say, if we're narrowing it down to cities, I would say Stigler, Salisaw. There's a lot of Hmong people in Stigler and Salisaw. Now it's rural Oklahoma, so you won't see them when you go out there, but there are a lot of people out there,
Yeah.
and more towards closer to Arkansas, I would say.
Oh, okay.
And there's people just, I mean, right along from Tulsa all the way east, like your people that are in Gore, oh gosh, Rose, like those are all eastern of Oklahoma going towards Arkansas. So a lot of Hmong people that way. There are a lot of Hmong people north towards Veneta, Big Cabin, Miami, Oklahoma, and that
Wow.
goes to
Yeah.
Joplin. So it's everyone is so just separated when you're out
Yeah.
there. But those are, around those areas are where I usually get people that are like, I want to live in this city. It's usually one of those.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. So, so people who are looking to come down, it just gives an idea. Okay, we might have some relatives,
Yes,
that are in this area. So
mainly
that's just
because they
pretty.
have family in that area. So
What's that?
it's mainly because they do have family in those areas, so they know
Yeah.
those areas. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Let's see here. Uh, oh, Lucky goes, hey, can't wait to refer some business to you. Okay, cool.
Oh, thank you. House already, I think. Well, thank you, Lucky. I appreciate that.
I think he's from Wisconsin, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Wisconsin people coming, like you said, North Carolina, Wisconsin, and Where do you see majority of them coming from? Do you see majority coming from like California, or do you see majority coming from like Minnesota, or what do you see?
Majority would have to be California for sure.
Okay.
And there's a mix of people. So there are people who want to come here and buy land, and then there are people who are like, we just want to live there or move there and buy a house in the city because we're tired of paying, you know, high cost
Yeah.
housing and everything in California. So it's a little mix of both, but I would say California would be number one state that I see my clients from, Minnesota, and then Wisconsin and North Carolina.
Cool.
Mhm.
And like, just curious, like what size of a, like when they come for the land, what size are they? What's the average size they're looking for?
I always hear we want something about 10 acres to 20 acres. Usually is about pretty average, 10 acres. And I
Oh,
think
okay.
there's a misconception of like, oh, they might want to come here to do, the grow business. So then they're like, oh, I have to have 10 acres, but that's not necessarily true, right? You just have to do your research and due diligence in each county. But
Yeah.
I would say I hear a lot of 10 acres, 20 acres on average. But I've had people buy 100-acre, land,
Oh,
and it just
yeah. Where did they get the money from?
their houses that they're selling in California.
Oh my gosh.
Buying something
Well,
here, cost of living here is half of what it would be their house there. So they're taking that $600,000 that they're making from selling that house and buying something
yeah.
here, which makes total sense.
Oh wow. Okay. I never bought. I don't know if you know this, right? I never bought land before. Like, do you? Is I mean, you may know this, you may not know this, but like when they buy land, are they cashing it out, or are they like? Is there like what they say, like a 50% down payment on it that you have to do? Like, what's down payment? Because there's no house on there, right? So the bank's going to work on it differently, right?
Right. Yeah. So a lot of people don't know this too because they want to come here and buy land, and then they think that, I can use a conventional loan or do a 30-year payment. And that's usually not how it works. Securing a land loan is a lot trickier and harder because your income has to be higher than your debt for sure. Like you said, if you default on a payment on your land, they can't come and foreclose it like it would be a house. They can't come and strip your piece of land away from you. So typically what I've seen here is not a lot of lenders or banks do land loans. So you're going to have to really, research into who would do it. I know a few lenders that will do land loans. It just really depends on your
Cool.
income and debt. And then not only that, but on average, what I'm seeing, land loan payments are about 7 years.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
So it's like 30 years because it's a high risk borrower. They can't, if you default,
Yeah.
you can't strip your land. So on average, I'm seeing about 7 years payment allowed.
And what's the down payment requirement?
I'm not sure on the down payment requirement. I just know about the years.
Okay. That's still
Most of
kind of
my
short.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's too short. Most of my buyers who come in by land have cashed it. They don't, you know what I mean? Because it's so high.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's go that route. Like what's 1 acre like that was going rate for 1 acre right now?
Oh man, that just varies. Because if you're buying land in the city, closer to the city, you're talking it could be like, $10,000, $8,000 an acre, right?
Yeah.
But it varies. So if you're buying land, like on average, if my clients are buying land that's like about 10, 20 to 50 acres, we're looking anywhere from 5,000 to $8,000 an acre.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All
And
right.
usually I tell people more acreage is less dollars per acre, and
Okay.
less acreage is more dollars per acre.
Okay. Well, I mean, in real estate, you kind of want. I mean, I guess there's a give and take, right? If you want to be remote, you want to go far, and you want more for some reason.
Yeah,
But
it's the reason if you want to buy more land, you're going to have to move farther away from the city, and the
yeah,
advantages of that is it's going to become slightly cheaper because you're further away from the city. But if you're closer to the city, then the land is going to be more expensive because everything's developing. You can build a house on there. You're like 10 minutes, 20 minutes away from the city, so you're definitely going to be paying a really pretty penny for 2 acres to 5 acres.
okay,
Yeah.
cool. So I think hey, Chi Meng, I think we answered your question there. Average cost of 10 acres in Oklahoma. I think she was saying about like two, like if you're further in the remote, like 2,000, and if you're closer to the cities, like what 10,000 say per acre?
5 to 8,000 around there. On
Yeah.
average, I would say it's around 5 to 8,000. Land is outrageously expensive now, so it's really hard to really tell what a true value is per acre, because sellers are just marking up their land like crazy because they know that there's going to be a buyer. So it's hard. It's hard to really value land, and you just have to pull the comps. But like I said, it's about $5 to $8,000 per acre. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool. Um, yeah. Well, is it like in real estate, like us investors, like real estate investors, we focus on like the good locations, right? I mean, I guess the these farmers, right? Are they focusing on like these great locations because it's closer to these cities and stuff, or are they going more remote? I guess that's what you
So when
see.
you
You
refer
understand
to
what I'm trying to
farmers,
say?
are you talking about the cannabis grow farmers?
Yes.
Yes. So, um, yeah, there's so many variables. And this is where I come in as an agent doing my due diligence. So I always ask people the first thing when they say, I want to buy land, I always ask, are you here for the business? Because that changes your
Yes.
conversation. You
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't just go and pick up a piece of land and say, oh, this is the one. You have to think we're going to need water. We're going to need electricity. We're going to need somewhere where it's easily accessible, or you're going to need, what you're going to have to check the county regulations. There are a lot of regulations into that business. So, like my due diligence and what I tell people is if you're here for that business, be honest, I just tell me, like, I'm not out there to get you. I just need to know so I can help you do my due diligence. So we have to call the county to make sure it's inside, outside city limits. Zoning is a big deal. That's all by the county. You have to make sure that you can even get water access, electrical access,
Oh wow. Okay.
because some counties are very saturated with the growers. And so you just need to really do your research so you don't end up investing, a couple $100,000 into this piece of land and come to find out they've already capped off the water resources for that county because there's too many people using it, so, or the electricity.
Wow.
So it varies. So it's hard to say, but I would say, like, if people are buying land, it's usually further away from the city because it's going to be a lot more affordable.
Okay, so that's great. I mean, that's really great info. Like, you have all these restrictions. What's the biggest hurdle like that they would face? Is it the water or the
Um,
zoning?
if your agent does their due diligence and searches the zoning for you and water, not
Yeah.
water, then you should be good, right? Water, I feel like is not as difficult to obtain. And the zoning you should find out before you make that offer. But I would say electrical is a big thing because you can't just say I need 800 amps. They're gonna have to come out and you have to give them a plan of what you want, right? And then they'll have to approve it. So they may deny or approve you. That would be one of the hurdles. And the secondary to that is a lot of these buyers are not a resident, and there's a lot of regulations on licensing,
Oh my
and
gosh.
into it.
Yeah.
I would say one of those biggest hurdles is the licensing and understanding, your residency and making sure you get everything approved and additional licenses that goes along with it that a lot of people may or may not be aware of. So there's just so much that goes into it. But hurdles, I would say licensing and getting the utilities that you need.
Okay. I would think like if you were to order that together, I guess the residency would probably be like what, number one, right? And then the zoning, right?
Yeah, yeah. Residency,
And then
well, residency comes with the licensing, so you can't even do the
okay.
license until you're a resident, right? And that's a whole conversation there. But you can figure out the zoning. It's quite easy. You just call the county,
Yeah.
figure that out. But I would say the biggest thing is that you can't call the electricity company and say, I need this much power until you own that piece of property. So
Oh man, yeah.
that you cannot get all these things started on this piece of land that you want to make an offer on. You have to own it in order to do that. So then if you own it and what if you can't get it? That's the biggest thing. Like you don't know that. Those are the unknowns. And so
So how do you I mean, I guess how people get around that? Is it you just gotta know the county or
you have to, I would say, if
or
you
the
knew somebody that lived in that county that was already in that business, that would
yeah.
help because then you already know that they're already getting the access to all these things. So then it shouldn't be a problem for you. I would say that would be the biggest thing is knowing somebody who already lives in that county.
Okay.
Your business.
Gotcha.
There's just no
Oh
telling that.
man.
Yeah.
Wow, this is a lot. I mean, I just thought that you just move and you just, hey, let's just grow some stuff, you know?
Yeah. No. There's a lot that goes into it. So I always tell people like, just tell me the truth, and that way I can guide you through it. You know.
Yeah, because there was a question like people were like, there was a question that a while back or a few hours ago, and people were saying that some Hmong people move there, and then I guess they're not successful, and then they just move back. So I guess maybe they're not hitting these particular points where they're not figuring it out, these particular points, and then they get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And then where do they go from this information? I mean, it sounds like you know so much about it. Do you have is there resources that you have about this?
I think a lot of it is working with these clients, and my business model is I don't want to steer anybody wrong, right? I don't want to make a sell. That's not what I feel like real estate's all about. It's obviously building a relationship, and and educating people and doing my research and my due diligence as their agent, and making sure I do all these call the county, do all these research. Like, it's just, how did I learn? I think I just called around and make sure that this person's in it for this. I need to find out everything, because the last thing I want to do is sit at the closing table and then tomorrow they find out that they can't even do X, Y, and Z. I would feel horrible. We're not buying groceries, we're buying real estate. So
Yeah, so it's almost like you're providing additional services on top of
I
just
do.
you. Like, I mean, it's like, I mean, holy cow. I mean, it's like, so you've done your research, so that's great. So if somebody's moving down from North Carolina, Wisconsin, California, so they're looking for some sort of knowledge. You already have it. That's great. Oh wow, I'm amazed. So, is there a particular business that walk you through this, or is it like it's just because you seem to like this just from experience? Like, is there a particular, like, if
Um,
they want to come?
it's I think it's having friends and family in the business, and talking to them, always asking, right? There's always room for improvement and learning. And so asking them, just doing my own personal research. The Oklahoma Marijuana Medical Authority page has a ton of resources on there as well. They have their playbook, if you will, of their rules and regulations all written online. So it's just really reading all of that and understanding it, because a lot of people come into the business and they don't read the rules and regulations, right? The fine print. And so it really helps that I sit there and I'll like study it and learn it, and that way I can educate the people who are coming here to buy that. Now, beyond that is on their own, but to obtain that piece of property for that particular business, yeah, I try to do that research before, and just learning all this stuff. Like I said, friends, family, asking around, just reading up on it, just kind of learning about it. I think that's really helped, and so far I haven't been wrong or steering. So I
Yeah,
think we're
I
good,
mean,
Dave.
I was saying, what makes you different from other realtors? I mean, this is it. I mean, it's like you're almost providing like a business guidance in a way, from just aside from just being an agent, right? So
Yeah.
you're almost like a consultant, pretty much, like your own
Yeah.
consulting business on top of just trying to help them buy land and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of it's going above and beyond. I don't want to steer my clients wrong. Although I always say I'm not a party to the contract, but I always try to guide my people, my clients the right way. And it's and communication is the biggest thing. When I ask for feedback, I think that's one of the biggest attributes that I always hear from people, is that my communication, prompt communication, and just educating them and explaining things to people. If it's 5 times, 10 times I have to explain it, I'll explain it 5 different ways until you understand it. uh,
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, if you know that rule, holy cow! Like, yeah, some people learn like just by listening. Some people learn by visual.
yes.
So kudos to you for knowing that, because if you know that, that's great.
Well, and just
Awesome.
learning people in general, like, always ask where they are at in their lives of real estate and their experience level, and catering to that. People who really know real estate and who've done this a couple times, I'm like, okay, great. We don't have to get into details. But the ones who really don't, like, really, focusing and catering to those people and explaining everything every step of the way. So,
Yeah, Yeah, that's awesome. Hey guys, you guys have any questions? Go ahead and comment below. Otherwise, give us a few thumbs up. This is great information. We're not even talking about the business, the cannabis business, but we're just, I brought her on to talk about like where people are buying and stuff like that. Um, like, geez, like I was gonna say, like, um, to be like, I mean, you're already kind of increasing the people that are like in this particular business. You're already kind of increasing their like success ratio just by like you having that particular niche or that knowledge on top of it. So that's awesome. Let's see, man, I missed a question earlier. But anyways, so tell us about your business. Like, who are you with, and I guess how do people get a hold of you and stuff like that. So
Yeah. So, my business, I do real estate full time. That's all I do.
okay,
Helping families get into homes, moving out of state or into our state or in and outside of Tulsa City. I have people who want to relocate outside of the city to buy land. So, but I work with investors, buyers, and sellers. And then, like I said, there are many real estate agents, and what sets me apart from my business and that has kept my business so successful in the short time that I've done it, is always seeking feedback. Like I said before, there's always room for improvement, and nobody's perfect. And always seeking feedback from every client that I work with, like what can I do
hmm
better, or anything. And so, and also, coming from a large, corporate dental corporation, it's constant communication, being extremely thorough, and building a relationship is my number one key. So that's what I incorporate into my business. So, yeah, and then I mean, that's really it. I mean, I do real estate full time, so
yeah, guys. So there you go. We'll get her information. Like how do people get a hold of you, right?
yeah, yeah. So people can get a hold of me. A lot of people get a hold of me through Facebook messaging. So I've got my Facebook page, Shoua Thao, and then I've got Shoua Thao of Rise Home, and and also back to the business. I have an amazing team that backs me up too. So not only that, but I've got my transaction coordinators, Rise Home team. So I always say, like, the people on my team, they're very successful. They're like the top 500 agents in Tulsa. So, and there's a lot of agents. And so being a part of that group and that team, not only are you getting me, but you're also getting all these very successful millionaire agents behind you too.
Wow.
So it's
Yeah.
not just me, it's a whole team. And so back to that business, like it's not just me, it's my whole entire team that makes everything successful and keep the balls, moving, so rolling. But yeah, so add me on Facebook, Shoua Thao of Rise Home. That's where I'm at. And message me. My number is 918-261-2345. It's really easy. 261-2345. 918 area code.
Cool, cool. And guys, I'll capture. I'll get her links and I'll put it in the show notes. So you guys, those you guys are driving or something like that, I can you guys come back to the show notes and just find her that way. Um, so I remember what I wanted to say because it goes back to that one comment before. Are you seeing people like in that particular business or buying the land, or are they buying and selling? Are you seeing that a lot where they come and buy and then are they selling it back because they're not making it? Are you seeing a lot of that, or are you seeing just people are staying um and
Um,
working with the business?
So in that business, it's again, it varies. It depends. I want to say a lot of it. There are a lot of regulations in Oklahoma. So I think a lot of people who come into the business are not aware or not fully educated on all the rules and regulations. Growing cannabis is not easy. It's not like you're growing flowers outside. There's a lot of nutrients, a lot of things that go into it, and a lot of education on that back end that you have to learn. And so I would say, many people who I think the biggest fear is, and I get people asking me all the time, is why are people moving out? I thought everybody wants to move in,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
A lot of it is, I feel like it's due to licensing issues.
Okay.
There's probably a
Yeah.
reason why you can't get licensing. If you can't get licensed, you can't grow, right? Um, Secondary to that, I would say they come and do it, and the weather plays a big part in it too. It's not like California or wherever people do this business at, right? Where it's easy to grow. You are dealing with all four seasons here: hot summers, humid, winters, wind, tornadoes, lots of those
Mhm.
things. And so I think that people invest a lot of money into this business unaware of all those variables that could affect their business. And once they've dumped all their money into the business and figure out either one, they can't get licensing, or their business fails because lack of knowledge or education, or they have a couple crops that fail, I think that becomes pretty discouraging because they've left their whole entire income or their lives to come start
Yeah,
this business, and
absolutely.
going well, and they have to figure out a way to bounce back. So
Yeah. Okay, cool. I mean, you definitely got so much knowledge over it. So, guys, if you guys are looking to buy in Oklahoma, reach out to Shoua. She's got that realtor experience, but she also got that almost, I say, like consulting kind of knowledge. So that's even better. So, hey, thanks for coming on the show. But before we let you go, we usually ask our guests, one last question, which is, um, tell us something that you learned about money.
well, yeah, that's a good one. So, like my husband always says, it takes money to make money, right? If you're
Mhm.
scared of money, don't make money. So,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
if you're scared to use money, you're never going to make money. And it's always stuck with me. And, I would say something I learned about money personally, take your money and invest in yourself. I never really understood how that worked, and never understood what people meant when they say invest in yourself. It was just like, what do I invest in? Like, what do I do? That's the first place to start. Invest in yourself. I invested in real estate, education, my licensing, and that's where it's gotten me, and I love it. And I was like, why couldn't I have done this like 18 years ago, right? Who knows, like 10 years ago. But it's not the same back then, right? I mean, God has a time
Mhm.
for everybody. So yeah, spending is always a risk, but you'll know your return if you don't. You won't never know your return if you don't take that risk. So
Awesome. That's a
yeah.
great answer right there. And guys, if you guys are looking to invest in yourself, this weekend I am teaching a real estate, class in Minnesota, and we got the Hmong Millionaire Conference in August, 25th and 26th. So make sure you sign up and connect with other people too. So, uh, man, Shua, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for being a true hustler. Love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
all the knowledge you gave. And guys, reach out to her. Add her as a friend, and then if you got friends or family that are looking to go down there, have a connect with Shua. So, any last words, Shua?
No, I mean, thank you for having me on the show. Reach out to me for all your real estate needs in Oklahoma. There's a number of real estate agents here who are Hmong too. Everyone's really good at what they do too. So, but yeah, just reach out. You guys have my information, and anything you guys, doesn't have to involve buying or selling. Any questions you have, I'm happy to help if I can. So,
Cool. All right, guys. Until then, good night, guys, and keep hustling. All right. Bye, guys.
bye.